Okay, so we're wrapping up January. Of course, January had some very important lessons to teach us. If you need to go back and listen to January's energy forecast for a little bit of a recap and review, definitely go ahead and do that. So the moon is in Libran energy all day. We have 8 different aspects taking place. All 8 involve the moon, which means that we are having a moon day, a moody moon day, because of course that Libran energy is very much wanting to stay in the shallow end, very much wanting to balance things out, create peace and harmony in everything that we do. We just want everyone to be happy. And of course, we're a little bit of a chatty Cathy as well. So a reminder, when the moon is in Libran energy, typically speaking, we start off with the up and down, back and forth, ebb and flow type of energy. We find the moon moving halfway through this Libra sector, which means that this is the point in time which we are going to kind of achieve a little bit of balance, a little bit of a middle ground, if you will. And then we head into the latter degrees as we finish this Libran energy up, which of course is going to put us in the extreme situations once again in order for us to find a common ground, a middle point. So with this energy here today, we are going to be emotionally refining where it is that we can find a little bit more balance, especially between our heart and our head, where it is that we can create some peace, especially between our heart and our head, where it is that we can create harmony, especially between our heart and our head. Yes, there are projections of this instability manifesting in our relationship dynamics. But again, the relationship with ourselves dictates, sets the tone for every other relationship that we have outside of us. So this is going to be a very interesting day to kind of grasp a new perspective. Again, we're in Aquarius season, acting as the observer, having that bird's eye view, looking down on our lives from a third party source in order to identify the problems so that we can fix them. So we have the moon in Libra energy trining, beautiful interaction with the sun in this Aquarius energy. So this is air on air action. There's a lot going on in the mental plane. We're testing the boundaries of our thoughts, of our ideas, of our narratives. Anytime that we have the moon and the sun coming together in any type of interaction, there's a new level of awareness, a new aha moment, a new emotion, new thought, new idea that comes into our awareness that now we get to do something with. And lucky for us, this is a trine, which means that there is growth, there is healing, there is progress, there's transformation. Because this is an air energy, this has a lot to do with the mental plane. The moon in Libra, again, wanting to achieve peace, harmony, balance within. The sun shining in Aquarius energy, showing us what the problem is, where it is that we can break free of this problem, what it is that we could try doing differently in order to create a little bit of a different outcome, constantly pushing us to improve, to progress in the evolution of our thoughts, of our ideas, of creating this vision, this goal, this dream. The moon is then going to make a positive interaction with Saturn, the Lord of Karma, in this Pisces energy, really kind of deconstructing our belief system, deconstructing our fears, doubts, insecurities, really taking a good look at where it is that we need to boss up, have a little bit more discipline, a little bit more willpower in order to actually start building the bridge that's going to get us away from where it is that we're currently at and closer to where it is that we desire to be. This is, and lucky for us, a positive interaction, which means that we're not really feeling a reality check. We're not really feeling the harshness, the weight of the world on our shoulders like Saturn usually brings to us in a negative interaction. And instead, we're taking a little bit of a more positive approach to the roles, to the responsibilities that we now have to boss up into in order to get to the next level of our karmic chapters, our soul contracts, our success, our abundance, in order to reach our goals. The moon is then going to make a positive interaction with Uranus, the Great Awakener, who is now direct in Taurus energy. I love this because the Libra energy that the moon is in and the Taurus energy that Uranus is in, those are Venus energies. Venus rules over Libra and Taurus energy. And so there is a little bit of a heart activation taking place here where we're realizing the change of heart, the change of values, the change of priorities. And within this, of course, Uranus is bringing us a new level of clarity, an aha moment, an epiphany, especially what needs to change in our physical realms in order for us to be able to kind of reconcile in our relationship dynamics, come to a choice point, come to a decision point where we're not living in these extremes, we're not living in this craziness and chaos. Instead, we are kind of being downloaded with a different perspective on what it is that we actually have control over in our physical realms, what it is that we could do differently in order to get a different result. Now, here's where things get sticky. The moon is going to directly oppose and sit across from Chiron, the wounded healer, who of course is in Aries energy. Aries energy, Libran energy sit across from each other in the zodiac wheel. It is balancing out our own individual wants, needs, and desires with the wants, needs, and desires of the group, of the team, of the partnership. Because Chiron in this Aries energy is about this new identity that we are building into, that we are anchoring in, emotionally speaking, we do not feel safe, secure, stable, grounded in it as of yet. Again, the scales trying to come into balance with the moon being in Libran energy. We are in an opposition, so this is tension, this is conflict. We are seeing ourselves from not the greatest light. We are not optimistic. We are not confident. We are not seeing where it is within ourselves that this change, this growth, this evolution actually feels like it is the right thing to do. We are basically being tested to boss up in a way that feels very uncomfortable and unfamiliar. So of course, there's going to be some resistance to that. We're going to sit in that energy for a couple of hours, and then the moon in Libra is going to directly oppose and sit across from the North Node in Aries energy, which of course means that the moon in Libra is sitting on top of, teaming up with, conjuncting the South Node in Libran energy. So the nodes of the moon, we're on this Aries and Libran axis. We are karmically in a particular tough love life lesson where it is that we have to stop people pleasing, where it is that we have to stop being too intertwined, too influenced, too connected to other people, in a sense where we essentially back burner our own wants, needs, and desires in order to put other people's wants, needs, and desires ahead of our own. The test here is we need to lean more into the North Node in Aries energy, which is independence. It's leadership. It's getting to know who it is that we are within ourselves, know thyself, without the influence, without the thoughts, the ideas, the opinions of other people impacting how it is that we actually feel about ourselves, how we see ourselves. The downfall here is that the South Node in Libra energy is what we have to break away from. So that is old, tried, tested, true, and familiar. And when things get hard, when things get tough, we have a tendency to lean back on what is old, tried, tested, true, and familiar, which is that South Node in Libran energy. And so this is going to really test us to see, are we able to either take a step forward, breaking away from some of these codependent relationships, falling into just people pleasing, telling people what they want to hear just for us to be accepted, or are we willing to kind of break away, dance to the beat of our own drum, and know exactly what we are doing because we are pushing our own agenda, mission, purpose, quest, truth. So there's definitely going to be some friction around this particular point in time. And then shortly thereafter, we have the moon in Libra making a very tough interaction with Uranus, the great awakener, in this Taurus energy. So instead of gaining clarity, we're gaining confusion. Instead of being shocked in a good way, where there's an aha moment, an epiphany, we're being shocked in a bad way, where we just cannot believe this information, the situation, the fact that we didn't see some of the details that are now coming to light. There is a lot of jitteriness, a lot of anxiety that's likely going to come out of this interaction, and it's going to make us feel blocked, challenged, in a state of paralysis. But take this opportunity to take a good look at where it is that you have this shift in perspective. You have this feeling of just not knowing what the next move is or what it is that you should do, because that framework is really going to push you into figuring it out. The moon is then going to get into the boxing ring, square off, have a little bit of a fight with Mars. So Mars is the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desire, even our anger. He's in Capricorn energy, so this is a very low, slow, calculated, deliberate thought process on the different options, on the different opportunities, on the different variables that we have to think out very carefully before we take action and make moves. Of course, Mars would prefer to take action and make moves at a very much faster rate than what he's doing right now in Capricorn energy, and therefore he's got a little bit of a situation where he's got ants in his pants. He's a little bit frustrated, a little bit aggravated that there isn't, a whole lot to do, that there's not a whole lot of progress. And so this particular situation is definitely going to get us all riled up in probably all the wrong ways. We're angered, frustrated, agitated, confused. We got ants in our pants. We're restless. We have bouts of anxiety that we don't know what to do with. But what this is going to do is it is going to kind of stir us up, the melting pot, so to speak, getting all those emotions kind of swirling so that we can figure out what we actually want to take action on, what we're being challenged with, what challenges, obstacles, blockages we're currently facing, where it is that we are feeling held back and restricted from making some kind of movement, some kind of action in the path forward. And because of this, we can use this framework to truly understand what it is that we're excited, passionate, or even angered, frustrated enough. That is the fuel to the fire that is inspiring us, motivating us, keeping us on a path where we are trying to identify the targets that we now want to kind of hit. We want to really succeed in bringing some of these visions and goals to life. The last thing that we have going on here today is the moon in Libran energy, making a very awkward interaction with Saturn. So this isn't the worst of interactions, which means that we're not getting kind of beat down by the universe. We're not getting a harsh reality check. We're not feeling the weight of the world on our shoulders the way that we would if this was a negative interaction. However, we're really not comfortable either. The interaction that we had earlier in the day with Saturn was a much more positive, much more revealing type of energy with information that we're actually going to use to build upon. This particular interaction is a little bit conflicting. We feel a sense of commitment, of obligation, and of existential dread at this point for those commitments, for those obligations that we've made that we no longer feel in alignment with, that we no longer really want to do anymore. And so this is going to be a little bit of a realization on what it is that we've outgrown. And again, you really have to pay attention to the not so nice thoughts, the not so nice emotions in order to understand what it is that you need to be moving away from, and therefore using that as a framework on what it is that you would like to be moving closer to.